Hello to our Outfest audience. My name is Christian Barron. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And I'm here with the director of the shorts from Brazil, which are Offline, MacJazz, and Eteria. In a minute, they're going to introduce themselves. And, hopefully you watched the whole program in our Outfest Digital Festival platform. So we're going to go and we're actually going to let them introduce themselves. So we can start with whoever wants to go first.
I can go, yeah. So I'm Tino Monetti. I'm the creative director of Eteria, the music video, and the director of the documentary. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm actually the creative director and director of communications of Criolo, which is the artist that did this project. The idea behind Eteria, it was he wrote the song talking about the homo and transphobic scenario in Brazil through that moment, especially with his experience with two people that he was living through times. And being a cis gender male, he knew that he had to open the project to the forefront fighters in this project. So he came to me, and the idea started by us inviting eight queer collectives of São Paulo that work with different kinds of cultural production or different modes or inside their own collectives. And I belong to one of them, which is Pop Porn, which is a sex-positive film festival. And the idea of the project was to invite these collectives to talk about their own struggles during these times, especially after Bolsanaro was elected president. So we filmed the project in December of 2018, and we released on February 2019, where the Supreme Court was debating the crime of homophobic crimes and transphobic crimes in Brazil. So a little bit is that.
Carla and Julia, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Louis. I am the director of Offline and also the screenwriter and one of the actors. Our film is completely independent. We didn't get any support from the government or anything like that. And this is our world premiere here at Outfest, and we're so thrilled about the whole process.
Oi, pessoal. Meu nome é Carla, eu sou a diretora, roteirista e montadora do curta MC Jazz. E Júlia?
Meu nome é Júlia, eu sou produtora do curta e a gente também está muito feliz de estar aqui. O curta foi feito no Rio de Janeiro e
foi um projeto que a gente fez para a conclusão da nossa faculdade de cinema e já foi feito em 2018, né? A gente está no segundo ano de exibição e agora esse ano a gente está conseguindo fazer com que o filme rode pelos Estados Unidos e está sendo uma experiência muito interessante porque culturalmente o filme traz questões diferentes do que geralmente a gente, enfim, vê nos filmes estadunidenses. Então, eu acho que ele tem tido uma recepção interessante porque traz uma menina que mora numa favela do Rio de Janeiro e a relação dela com a poesia e, enfim, muito felizes de estar aqui podendo falar sobre ele.
So, Carla is the director and screenwriter of the short film MC Jazz, and Julia is the producer. And they're really happy to have the short film in Outfest. It's the second year of film festival circuit, and they're really happy. It's a short film from 2018, and they're really happy with the how has been the response from the United States because it's a story about a Black woman living in the outskirts of Rio de Janeiro and being a poet, and it seems like a different experience from the narratives that you see in films from the United States. So it's a film that they made as a conclusion of their film school, and it's been a great response so far.
Awesome. So one of the things I love about all three of your shorts is that they are all about, um, they're somewhat political or very political, if anything, and but they're all about queer artists and the way that they express themselves through the challenges, right? For MacJess, and if I want to go directly to Carla and Julia, another thing about it is that out of the, you know, the one that kind of have a little bit of a fusion between documentary and fiction was your film, and I was always sort of curious whether this person that I was seeing, I was following her real life, or if it was something that a story that you wrote or that you built together. So tell us a little bit about this character. Who is she in real life? Is she a real person, or is something that came out of your imagination?
Ok. A MC Jazz, a Jéssica, né, a personagem, ela é totalmente ficcional, mas baseada em histórias de muitas meninas que algumas contam durante o filme, né? Tem um movimento conhecido como Slam Poetry, Slam, e aqui no Brasil ele chegou com bastante força no ano de 2017. E era muito comum ter mulheres recitando poesias com cunhos políticos e principalmente mulheres negras. Então eu fiquei com muita vontade de trazer um pouco desse movimento que eu estava gostando de acompanhar pessoalmente, colocar ele na tela do cinema. E acho que por enquanto pode traduzir essa parte.
So in case of the MC Jazz, which is Jessica, it's a totally fictional character, but it was based on a lot of women that they heard and that they are portrayed throughout the film. So this character came from, in Brazil, there was this really famous movement called slam. It's like a slam poetry. And during 2017, and you could see a lot of Black women who participate in the slams with a lot of political statements. So she thought it was really interesting, and she used to join them a lot, and she was interested in portraying that in a film, you know, bringing these characters, these women that she saw through a character in a film.
And all of you obviously there's a lot of politics that go into the stories that you put together, and I'm gonna go with you, Louis, and with Offline, because at the beginning of the short we hear this decree from the president. I'm really not sure if this was Bolsanaro himself or this actually happened in real life, which seems, you know, very much what we are going through in this country. You know, we have similar challenges with our rights, with the things that are taken away, even if it's not as, you know, that's for everyone. But then you created that, and then just this sort of being able to just disconnect made it easier for these two people to connect and then be more legitimate with themselves. So I want you to talk a little bit about this connection that they find when they're not curating their lives so for the perception of everyone else, kind of.
Yeah, sure. So the first question regarding if this was real or not, it wasn't. But all of the news that you hear in the short, they were all real. So it kind of brings to a point where you question, like, is this real? Like this news about the internet getting cut in the whole country, like, is it real? Could it become real? So that was my first idea. And then as soon as the two characters, they leave the big cities, because previously they have this relationship, this worship relationship online to images, not to people. And I wanted to kind of create this conflict idea to what someone shows online and who they really are. So I wanted to create like a conflict between that and how ours as like millennials and Generation Z, like how our desires and our subjectivity, their work feed by those images, the images that we create, that we portray ourselves. And that was kind of like the biggest idea in the narrative it evokes when they get in touch, like really with who they are.
And for you, Tino, I mean, you also have these characters who are like extremely political, and you spoke a little bit about them when you introduced yourselves. I mean, there is so much richness about each one of them because each one of them is so completely different and unapologetic and all of that stuff. So how do you, I mean, I was really interested, I mean, I kind of wanted to know more about them in the context of who they were. If you can actually give them a little bit of, talk a little bit about where they come from, about their houses that they belong to, which you indicate at the end. You're muted.
Sorry, now we're good. For sure, we can start. The first person I approached, it was Marcelo, which is Davila in the short film, the dancer, which is part of Popcorn with me. And as we've been working on Popcorn for 10 years, and I've been living these last years in the US, and he was still there. We both together did the casting of finding out. The main thing that we were trying to find in the beginning was, of course, LGBTQ collectives that were working actively politically, but mainly in more precise aspects of everything. So you have people that their collectives are focused on the Black youth that is HIV positive. And then you have someone else that is like Juju, that works with the image of plus size girls, of queer plus size girls. So our idea was to bring, which we're trying to do, is to open Criollo's network and platforms and spaces so these characters could be well known and the projects they were part of could be more known. So Davila is from Popcorn. He's a performer. He's the artistic director of the film festival as well. With him, we found FEFA, which is part of Animalia, which is a collective focus on trans art. Then we have Transalien, which is part of Festival Marcha now, which is one of the first LGBTQ online film festivals made 100% by trans people in Brazil. Then we have Zyla, which is the House of Zion, which is a house that is in São Paulo, but is a connection with the house in the US. Also focus on Vogue, on ballroom culture. The same way is House of Avalanche, which is Akira, one of the other performers. Then we have Flippy, which is part of a collective called Amém, which is the collective that work with the Black youth that is HIV positive in São Paulo. And then I think we've been through all of them. Yeah, and Juju that I mentioned before. So the idea was to bring them. They never had a choreography. They never had previous anything. We just wanted to feel and portray the song as they wanted. And in the documentary, talk about the common things. And one thing that I would like to point it out is that we are living in a major moment of crisis in Brazil. First, because of the election of Bolsanaro, and now with the pandemic and all. But for these people and for many others, like it just aggravates the situation of social vulnerability that they already were, because Brazil was already the country that most kills trans and LGBTQ people in the world, even before Bolsonaro. So I think like we wanted to portray all of this, like the heat of this moment that was going on, but also like the culturally how they've been struggling with this for many years.
And one of the things that I think, as I said, is going to resonate with American audiences, and especially is that we see that thread, and that, you know, Brazil has been going through something that seems even more exacerbated to the point of view of some, you know, with the LGBTQI rights being in in danger, and people who are even people who have a little bit more colors, or going in the spectrum of things a little bit, but so going to correlating that with something like Mac Jess, for example, she herself, she's not only a lesbian woman and lesbian woman of color, or I don't know if she's in what her or if those are her pronouns or anything like that, but she seems almost even more affected because she's working class, because she is going through getting exposed to sort of the world. What is sort of like the type of experience that you've seen in Brazil of people like that? What do you see the danger of what's going on for the existence of those type of people?
Tô pensando.
Mas deu pra entender, né? A pergunta. Ah, beleza.
Sim.
Eu acho que, pensando no momento atual, eu acho que uma coisa muito importante é pensar no que o Tino tinha falado antes, né, da questão de que as questões foram agravadas nesse momento, principalmente com a eleição do Bolsonaro, mas são questões que já existiam muito fortes anteriormente. Assim como o Brasil é o país que mais mata pessoas trans no mundo, aqui também tem uma questão muito forte e que é mais exacerbada ainda no Rio de Janeiro, que é onde a gente vive, onde o filme foi gravado, que é a questão dos jovens de periferia e dos jovens negros, que a gente tem uma estatística aqui de que um jovem negro é morto a cada 23 minutos, e que isso é uma questão também, como você falou, que da questão do público dos Estados Unidos também se relacionar, que o movimento Black Lives Matter é muito forte, esse ano também, né, muitas manifestações, e que aqui isso é uma questão muito, muito séria, e que a gente acha também que isso é essencial, né, sempre muito importante de que essas coisas a gente trate dessas coisas sempre em conjunto. E eu acho que a questão do filme também foi trazer todas essas questões, assim, e a atriz que faz a Jéssica, a MC Jazz, o nome dela é Carol Dalfarra, ela é uma poeta negra, lésbica, que veio de periferia também, e ela também participou muito desse processo criativo, trazendo também essa experiência dela, assim como as outras meninas poetas negras que são entrevistadas durante o filme.
Vou responder qualquer coisa, Juliana, se quiser depois falar mais, tá? So yeah, in this case, she says how it's important to consider what Tino just mentioned before, how things got aggravated in this moment in Brazil with the election of Bolsanaro, where trans community and LGBTQ plus community, it's in danger. But that's something that it was already happening. It is the country that kills trans people the most in the world, so it's something that you can't ignore how it got aggravated after the election. But besides that, portraying this character in this film, MC Jazz, you have also an important thing that is Black people and Black youth being killed in Brazil as well, especially in Rio de Janeiro, where they're from and where they did the film. So you have a situation in Brazil, besides all the trans community being in danger, you also have a situation where every 23 minutes, a young, Black woman or man are killed in Brazil, and that's something that they wanted also to portray in this film. So, bring these experiences of not separating class and gender. There's both two things that you have to consider in society in Brazil, especially today. So, for instance, the character that plays Jessica, which is Carla. Oh, I forgot
Carol Dalfarra.
Carol Dalfarra, which is the name of the actress. she herself, she's a Black young woman from the outskirts of Rio de Janeiro who's also a poet, and she was someone that joined the creative process, and it was an important element to bring her own experience to to the storyline and to the narrative of the film. And so they had these elements really important through the process in order to tell the story. And they had other characters as well, other women who participated in the film, and they brought those experiences to the film.
I mean, there's something about all of the three shorts that we just saw, and then that there feels a collaboration between everybody involved. There has some sort of like interesting lived-in sort of moments that you can actually feel like this. It feels genuine in all three of the examples. Actually, I had a question for Louis. And one of the things that resonated with your film, and it doesn't have to do with any sort of like us as gay men. Sometimes we go back to our childhood and we go back to moments in which we kind of figure out how we got there, or what was the moment that clicked in. And then in your film, there's a lot of going back and forth with memory, right? One of the characters. So talk a little bit about kind of how you see the character, how you see yourself, or why that was important within your short.
So the archive images that I've added to my film, actually, it wasn't meant to be when I've written. It was something that came up during the editing process. So those images, they were filmed by my mom when I was a child. And during the editing, I was reading a little bit about self-fiction. And self-fiction comes from literature. And in writing, it's like this process of mixing fact and fiction. But in filmmaking, sometimes I read some stuff about how you can actually change yourself and improve yourself or reflect on yourself in the process of making the film. So when I came across those images, they really helped me to shape where the film was going, because all the archive images, they were about a theater play when I was a child that my mom, who used to be a filmmaker, filmed. And the play was about Guimarães Rosa, a Brazilian writer. And when I was editing, I was like, can I do something with this? Like, why Guimarães Rosa now? And I started to looking for his text, and I found one named The Mirror, that I felt like it talks about a little bit about this process of deconstructing your self-image and how you see yourself and how you portray yourself to the world. And the text itself tells about this process of the narrator to deconstruct himself, and he becomes a child by the end. And when I came across those images, I thought, wow, this could be something. So in this process of self-fiction, I thought, what if I just lend my memories to this character that is not me, but for sure has something in between my experiences. So yeah, it was pretty much it.
Awesome. So I'm gonna have a question for each one of you just to end this, and it's sort of talking a little bit about your future, what goes beyond this project, if you planning on presenting it in a longer format, whatever you want to say about your projects. And I'm gonna go first with Tino, then with Carla and Julia, and then with Louis. So just talk a little bit, just a snippet of what you would like this to evolve into.
I think from a point of view of the project, the idea of Etheria was, I think, in a larger movement to something that actually has been going on in Brazil, which is to take an artist that is that have a platform or a space and use this platform to open to other artists or other struggles or other fights that don't have this space. So we've been trying to do this with Criollo in all his projects after that. Now he's having like a streaming channel, which is canal, which is we've been calling Criollo TV. And it's a place that we've been bringing debates, occupations, documentaries. And I think the idea of also we are very close to all these collectives and in Etheria, so they are also occupying these spaces. And the idea is to make it bigger, is maybe like to know more about the collectives, these stories, and to bring more light, maybe after all this, you know, or to do like through in an online way. But the idea is more that I think on a bright side of everything that is going on in Brazil, we have a very creative resistance through all these communities that are going through these struggles. So we have more things being produced, even like with the lack of government funds in every way since ever. These people are still producing, talking, being through poetry, like the girls mentioned, being through many online tools. So I think the idea is that to spread more, to fight what's going on, and to bring more light to these stories that need to be heard.
Desde o último ano, com o MC Jazz, a gente começou um processo de fazer exibições em escolas, e tem sido o foco do processo de distribuição, né, nesse momento. E aí, a partir da exibição do MC Jazz, a gente começou também a fazer exibições de outros curtas-metragens, porque, como o Tino falou, aqui, apesar do momento, existe muita produção, existem muitas pessoas fazendo e muita produção diversificada, e a gente começou esse projeto de levar curtas-metragens produzidos por jovens LGBTs de realidades diversas, de partes diversas do país, para debater em escolas públicas. E eu acho que esse tem sido o nosso principal foco, porque é uma questão falar de gênero e sexualidade nas escolas, e tem sido cada vez mais uma questão por questões religiosas e outras, né, do momento que o país está vivendo. Então, eu acho que esse tem sido o nosso foco, assim, a partir do MC Jazz e também desse momento, fazer esse debate com as escolas e com a juventude, com as crianças, e tentar espalhar mais esse debate, diversificar mais o debate, eu acho.
Yes, so in case of with Carla and Julia, after 1 year that they did MC Jazz, they started the distribution of the film focused on schools and communities of young audience. So for them, it was really important to bring this film to the debate in schools, and not only the film itself, but they brought other documentaries, because just like Tino mentioned, it is a hard moment in Brazil, but even though there's a lot of production of this kind of films, and from the LGBT community doing films about their own community and experience. So it's something really interesting when you see this dialectical situation that we're going through. So they thought it was really important to bring other films to the schools and bring this debate, because we're going through the situation in Brazil where with the current government, you have this really strong prejudice against gender and sexuality studies in schools, basically because of the religious influence that the current government has. So that's something that I think is really important to bring to this youth and this young audience in schools, to bring, to diversify the debate in school as well.
Marie?
So I feel like the other two films that are here, they already have like a past and some history. Like you guys have shown places before. Like this is literally my first festival. This is my first short narrative that got into a festival, and this is the first festival of this first film. So it's like I feel that everything here is a bit new to me, but I mean this brought a lot of energy, because to keep doing and to keep producing and to keep connecting. Like I can't wait to put this film in a film festival in Brazil, because I really wanted to get to know more about my other fellow directors and creatives. And I think this is going to be awesome to, like, I don't know, to because I feel like we need now to behave as a community, because to be honest, like even though people are doing stuff and are producing, like all of the Brazilian films that were in like this year, a couple of years ago in film festivals, it will probably in numbers, we'll have a lot less in the following years because of the current government. So this previous year, the government have done like actions to decrease the power of LGBT filmmaking, like very explicitly. Like 2 films that got support to come to Portugal to a screen in a huge festival. They got the support, it was approved, and it was cut. So it's like the current government is an enemy to filmmaking, especially LGBTQ filmmaking. So it is just the beginning of the path to me, and I'm really excited. But I really like my biggest desire is to get to know more LGBTQ directors and see what we can do together, like as a community, as a group.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you being here. We love Brazil. We would hope that next time you are actually here in the flesh with us, and or us there, whatever. Thank you, Tino. Thank you, Carla and Julia. Thank you, Louis. And also thank you, Adriana, for helping out with the translation. I want you guys to please keep enjoying with the Outfest experience online this time. So, and then we'll see you next time. Thank you all.
Thank you.